another Killer Planes video. The Killer Planes How-To Series. So there are two basic types. There are more than this, but these are the ones you see the most. This is the one where you have to cut the side of the flap. This was attached in a full solid piece across here. And this is the type where you have to cut a lump out of the hinge area on a couple of sides. This is the P51 wing. This is the P40 wing. So we've already cut this P40 wing by making two slices right next to each other down here. I use razor knives when at all possible to cut foam because you want your knife to be really sharp with a really thin blade. And then this is the P51. So you want to be careful to make sure that your knife is only set to the depth of whatever this hinge cut already is and cut up from there. Pull away from the piece. So set it to the depth, cut up from there, right? So I'm slicing up towards me away from the plane so that I can't go any deeper than this depth I start at, right? I did that on that side. Set my depth, nice and careful, cut up and away. So I'm pretty much there through that side. Okay, and now I have to cut this side. And being right-handed, I like to turn this baby around and cut this way. So I position it at the side of the cut from my angle, position it at the depth, cut up and away. All right, do that again a couple of times, and then finally I am through. So you have to cut through the bottom of the foam on this. On some of these they have a flat bottom like this one does, so there's actually some width in there you need to cut. I just use a crooked paper clip here and stick it through the foam a couple of times to try to tear as much foam as I can at that juncture, as the saying goes, because I don't have a knife that's shaped like this, and I don't think anyone does. And then I can probably pull that out of there without destroying the top section. There it is. Top is still intact. I love it. I'll do that on the other side. So here's what you want to do. You want to score the top of this foam here where the hinge is. So it's not on this line on this plane, it's actually back here. So, and the reason for that is otherwise it's going to make this ugly wrinkly break where you break it. You want to score it. It'll make a nice clean break where you score it. I take myself a straight edge and I take myself my really sharp knife, and I know that this hinge lines up with the hinge on the aileron. I already know that much. So I can line it up on that end and I can see it on this end, and there it is. So I am lined and I just score the foam. Come on, Steve. Very lightly, as if I'm just trying to cut through paint. Right? I'm not trying to make a cut, just trying to kind of dent a line with the point like that, see? And now, when I do the hinge, I might have even wanted to cut that a little deeper, to tell you the truth. There's a lot of foam in that hinge, so I'm going to cut a little deeper on this one, since the hinge foam is so thick. There we are. One good reason I have thick hinge foam like this is that you can score the top a little deeper. Instead of just trying to cut the paint, you're going to cut about 1/16 of an inch deep. And that'll make you a nice open seam on this top when you put the flap down. And when it's back up, your actual hinge is at the bottom of this notch. Or at the bottom of the foam, I should say. And this has got a stop built into it. Pretty good, right? So we're going to put our own stop on this where it hits the plane using these red pieces of plastic to even add some more to this. And this is not going to go up from the up position. That's as far up as it can go, flat. Really good. Hi there, Steve from Killer Planes here with some more tips and tricks, and this one's about flaps. I like
like flaps. Everybody likes flaps. A lot of these foamy flaps are designed in such a way that they're pretty much like ailerons. They're hinged at the top, and they can flap up as well as down, which is cool if it's an aileron, but it's not. It's a flap. It only needs to go down. So if it's able to go up, you're flying around. That means this flap is hanging on your servo for the entire duration of your flight. That puts a load on your servo. It's not like it's going to do anything horrible, but it does put a load on your servo, which puts a load on your receiver, which puts a load, you know what I'm saying. So it's something you don't need. Plus, this just eliminates any problem from ever happening. Let's say your servo should break, or your arm should break, or something should break. Now there's no connection holding the flap. It could flap completely around like this if it felt like it. That would really be bad. So here's what you're going to do. Well, here's what I do. So I like to support my flaps, and that's pretty simple. It's called, by me, a flap support. And in this case, we can make it with tiny little pieces of plastic laminate, otherwise known as Formica or Nevermar or all that stuff. And you can get these things on chip rings from cabinet shops. They're old rings of sample chips. Just pick up a ring of sample chips from a cabinet shop. They look like that. They come on a chain. They'll gladly give them to you because what they do is throw them out anyways every time a new ring comes out. They probably have 50 of them hanging around. So I picked a nice color, and you make what essentially is going to look like a little stripe by the time you're done. You ever see those painted stripes on the edges of flaps where you're not supposed to step? That's why I'm using red. So what I'm going to do is glue this thing onto the top of the wing so that it overhangs and the flap goes up against it and rests like this. So you can see I'm going to hold it in place here, and when I push the flap up now, which I'm doing like this, it can't go any further than stop right there. So this is the perfect flying attitude for your flap. That's all you're ever going to want it to go, in that direction. So you can put a little strip on like this. It'll end up looking like this without my fingers there, right? So we're going to show you how to put one of these on, and you can do one yourself. So I'm going to take the little piece of plastic that I'm going to put on, and we're going to overhang the flap just a little bit and put the most of the plastic onto the plane that doesn't move, right? So we're going to put it right there, right? So it's overhanging a little bit onto the flap. So the flap comes up, hits the thing. Okay, and then I mark it. There it is. Check it again, that's where it's going to go. Okay. So now I'm going to sand the paint off right here, so when I glue the thing on, it stays. We don't want to glue it onto the paint. Just come right off. And this is another perfect thing to use these for. You can use it as a block, or you can use anything. You can use a piece of cardboard, but if you put this where you don't want to sand, then you can just sand right next to it, and your sandpaper will never touch the stuff that's underneath here. You can use, I don't use tape on these, because tape will just pull your paint right off. So you want to use something you're going to hold in place, like a piece of cardboard or a piece of this stuff. All right, so I'm going to put this here and line it up on my line so I can sand right here. So you sand this so that the glue sticks to the styrofoam. See that? So now I've sanded that off and I can glue my little strip onto it. I just happen to have a hot glue gun all handy. My choice of glues, because the stuff sticks to everything and it's rubbery, so it's flexible, which I personally really like. I like a good flexible glue. So I'm going to apply some of this to the strip right here that I've sanded. Now I have a tiny little stripe of glue to glue this onto. And I'm going to line it up where it goes and press it down so that it glues itself onto the wing. I believe it's done now, okay? So there it is. I have now glued this strip onto the wing. If you want to get really fancy, you can cut this into the wing by simply slicing right along the edge of it and then slicing out very carefully the thickness of this thing out of the styrofoam on the wing. It's actually easy to do. I don't bother doing it because this does not affect flight performance, this very thin piece of plastic sitting on top of the wing. And it's, you know, if this plane crashes, let's say, I don't know how that would happen, but I've spent a whole bunch of time carving things into the foam and they're just going to get blown up anyways. I'll do it the easy way. So let's glue the other one on the other wing. As you can see, this part has been previously sanded using the block the part you don't want to get sanded method of sanding. Strip, glue gun, apart. There it is, hot glue and plastic strip. Wood up onto the plane, and there we go. Hold it down for a second till it dries itself. Okay, and here it is, flap support, so the flap cannot go up any higher than this. And that's it. It's not hanging on the servo anymore. I'm going to fly around. I'm going to feel really confident about my new flap support, which also looks cool, by the way. And that's it. Another tip and trick. Steve from Killer Planes. I'll see you on the flight line. How to keep your flap from flopping, and that's to put a stop on the top. This is working out really good.